All right, man, peace. So, brothers, I happened to catch this very interesting segment on the CBS Morning News pertaining to Miss Donna Rotuno. For those of you who don't know, she is the acting legal counsel for Mr. Harvey Weinstein, the very beleaguered former movie executive, formerly associated with Miramax Pictures, who, as we all know, he gets around. Harvey likes to display that Hebrew hammer, aka 4 inches of thunder. I have not covered this topic for a very long time. The reason why I wanted to use this video as a backdrop is because Miss Donna Rotuno is going to say something that is extremely informative and insightful that I hope many of you brothers listen to. Once again, I do not make videos geared towards the woman. Why is that? Because it's very clear that in this Babylonian society, the woman is going to have to learn to accept things on her own, and the most important person for her to be learning from is her man or her husband. But when certain women say things that are true or revelatory, I will use it in the same way when I touch on certain historical topics. I like to use Caucasian scholars, and when they make certain statements, that will create an environment of objectivity. When you speak on history as a so-called black man and you use black scholars, people are going to accuse you of being Afrocentric, and I'm talking about so-called black people because I don't care about what the other races think about what I'm saying. I barely care about what you so-called Negroes think, but my channel is geared towards you so-called black men because we have to figure this society out before it falls so that we're prepared to lead our own kingdom when the time comes. But just to get back to the point, Miss Donna Rotuno is going to make certain damning statements about the mindset of the modern liberal female and her self-victimization mentality. So of course they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
In an exclusive interview, Harvey Weinstein's new defense attorney tells CBS this morning she is confident he will be exonerated in the criminal cases against him. The former movie producer, as you know, is facing charges in New York on allegations of sexual violence against 2 women. His trial starts in January. Now, more than 70 women have accused him of wrongdoing since an explosive New York Times investigation 2 years ago that inspired the MeToo movement. Weinstein denies all of the allegations.
Look at Harvey. Harvey look like he barely knows where the hell he's at. Where are we? Are there any bitches here?
Donna Rotuno is a former prosecutor, and she's handled dozens of cases defending men accused of sexual misconduct. Rotuno's comments on MeToo may surprise.
Now, brothers, before we move forward in this segment to watch the interview between Gayle King and Donna Rotuno, I want you to once again pay very close attention to the necklace that Gayle King is wearing. Once again, she's wearing that chain. And I touched on this a very long time ago. Many monarch programmed assets that you see on television, especially acting as panelists on these newscasts, are under mind control. And there's certain jewelry that they wear that acts as a control mechanism. When they wear certain earrings or certain necklaces, that's meant to keep them under proper control. Gayle King is an asset. She was twinned with Oprah back when they were both born in 1954. Believe it or not, it might sound outlandish. It is what it is.
I've heard you say that you're not really a believer or supporter of the MeToo movement?
Yeah, it's more of a supporter. Mm-hmm. I think in many ways there are good things about MeToo, and I've said this.
I think this person, Donna Rotuno, also understands that it's short-sighted. They're moving according to the whims of the woman. They're trying to cater to the emotional aspect of the woman and what the woman normally seeks after, that being revenge. Females are very vindictive. People who understand women know this. And the MeToo movement is meant to cater to women who feel like they've been the recipients of the short end of the stick. That's why you see people coming out of nowhere, 45-year-old, 50-year-old women, claiming that they were harassed back in 1988. Why are they upset? Are they mad because they laid down with some movie executive? No. They're upset because they thought that they were going to become the next Meryl Streep, and it never happened. That's why they're so mad. Once again, notice that you have not heard a peep from Jennifer Lawrence or any of the other young actresses in Hollywood who are still relatively in their prime, because they know where their bread is buttered, and they know that the people that they slept with were actually able to come through on their promises. Once again, we hear nothing from Rihanna, nothing from Jennifer Lawrence. A lot of these females who are still relatively young, approaching older age, but still relatively young, they know that they've waxed and fat by who they've slept with, so they're not going to cut off their nose to spite their face.
What bothers me about MeToo, it allows the court of public opinion to take over the narrative. And when you can't come out and then either correct or challenge that narrative, it puts you in a position where you're stripped of your rights.
Well, that really happened with Ray Rice, even more than Harvey Weinstein. We know that the MeToo movement started officially with Harvey Weinstein. But this notion of public opinion, or as they call it on television, optics, quote unquote, starting to have the supremacy over the court of law, that started back with Ray Rice.
Chicago attorney Donna Rotuno has built a reputation defending men accused of sexual assault and rape. The trial of Harvey Weinstein is her most high-profile case to date. What is your strategy in defending him?
Well, I have a strategy in defending him, of course, is just evaluating the case for what it is. And
in other words, Donna Rotuno is trying to say it's really not going to take that much to exonerate Harvey Weinstein, because it's basically going to come down to a he say, she say scenario. And unless you're able to verifiably prove that he held women down and raped them, it's going to be very difficult to find him guilty.
Whether or not these allegations are things that we can refute.
And brothers, now that I think of it, what the hell ever happened to that story revolving around Asia Argento? That little hoe actress who got caught sleeping with the teenage boy. That disappeared real quick, didn't it? Not to mention the other story revolving around Kevin Spacey sleeping with all the young boys in Hollywood. That disappeared real quick too, didn't it? Especially after one of the quote-unquote accusers died out of nowhere. Ain't that some shit?
In the criminal case, there are 2 charged victims, and in both cases, I feel strongly about the fact that we have evidence that is favorable to us and evidence that I think will exonerate him.
We know we're talking about 2 women. But as you know, Donna, the story is so much bigger than that. And I know you're not naive to that, because we've got really more than 70 women, including names that we all know.
Right, but what does that really mean? You have more than 70 female accusers. Harvey Weinstein has probably slept with 2,000-3,000 women in the past 40 years since he's gained some level of prominence in Hollywood. So we have about 70 women who've come forward and basically stated, Harvey Weinstein put me in an uncomfortable situation where he had the nerve to ask me for sex in order for me to advance my career. Women trade sex for favors all the time. These are just facts. I'm not saying that it was right that Harvey Weinstein, quote unquote, lured them into his home or into his bedroom and made them feel uncomfortable, but shit happens. If the guy didn't put his hands on you, if he didn't hold you down, that's not rape. All he did was make an offer that you had the right to refuse.
Selma Hayek, Ashley Judd, Lupita Nyong'o, who have all said that they...
Really? Lupita Nyong'o. It's only a matter of time before Lupita Nyong'o comes out of the closet as a pansexual, by the way. For those of you who don't know, she has a very close, quote-unquote, relationship with Janelle Monáe and that other chick, the girl who plays the love interest in Creed and was in that new Men in Black flop. The last name Thompson, can't remember her first name. The little light-skinned girl, the mixed breed girl who's in a relationship with Janelle Monáe. Lupita Nyong'o is very closely associated with the both of them. So it's only a matter of time before she comes out of the closet as a pansexual herself. Once again, the real issue is that these females in Hollywood, they have no problem sleeping with a multitude of both males and females. They just don't want to feel like they have to lay down with someone who they're not attracted to.
That Harvey Weinstein sexually harassed them. I know you're saying these aren't criminal cases, but these are certainly very serious allegations.
There are a lot of allegations that can be made, Gayle King. I'm sure that there are many young males who can claim that Gayle King sexually harassed me, i.e. offered up her vagina. Allegedly. But it would not surprise me. I had a brother who made a comment in one of my videos a while ago who claimed that he lived in Connecticut, and back in the day when Gayle King was a reporter in the Connecticut area, that she would come to the projects around there and hit on the young men. I mean, that's life. You have the power to offer your services. People have the power to say no.
You respond to that, and does that matter to you?
Well, sure. I think it matters. It might matter to me in my analysis of the whole circumstance. But if I
damn, Donna Rotuno's voice kind of deep there.
At the criminal case, frankly, those allegations don't matter in the context of the criminal case.
But how does Harvey explain those allegations?
Well, I don't think it's about...
How do you explain allegations? You can walk up to a woman and ask her the directions to the Empire State Building, and she could take that as you trying to hit on her, and then take it to where you're trying to harass her. It's not Harvey Weinstein's job to get into the brain of some woman who claims she had an interaction with him 12 or 15 years ago.
Explaining them. Anytime we talk about men and women and sexual circumstances, I think we have to look at the fact that there's always an area of gray.
In other words, this lawyer understands that the woman can and will say anything because she leads with delusions. That's the fact of the matter. Women tend to be delusional. They're also narcissistic. So they believe that anytime a man speaks to them or asks them a question, that he's trying to request sex from them, because the woman leads with her sexual nature or her sexual aspect way more than men do. That's why women dress in a provocative way, much more provocatively than men. Am I saying that Harvey Weinstein, that his conduct was totally above board? No, I'm not saying that. But I promise you, one thing that we know about women in general, and the liberal woman in particular, they are opportunists, and they're going to say and do whatever they need to say and do to maintain attention upon themselves, make themselves sympathetic figures, especially if that means they're going to be able to take advantage of this new woke culture that we're in, and it might result in job opportunities for themselves at 45, 47 years old, because they can no longer play the sex pot. So now all of a sudden you're Ashley Judd, you're 40-something years old, you can't play the sexy lead role anymore, but oh, we feel sorry for her because allegedly Harvey Weinstein did something to her, so let's give her a job in Hollywood. That's what they're really gunning for.
These blurred lines, and I think sometimes one side walks away from an event feeling different than the other, and how do we reconcile that?
It's not uncommon for...
Once again, pay attention to what Donna Rutino stated. She said, one side walks away feeling different from the other. In other words, Harvey Weinstein was making what he thought were innocent jokes or come-on lines to women, and the woman, because she looked at him and was not attracted to him, felt another type of way, especially when her career didn't pan out. Let me rewind this back a little bit.
Those allegations.
Well, I don't think it's about explaining them. Anytime we talk about men and women and sexual circumstances, I think we have to look at the fact that there's always an area of gray. So there's these blurred lines, and I think sometimes one side walks away from an event feeling different than the other.
Once again, she understands that men are different from women. As someone who provides legal counsel, it's her job to delve into the essential nature of the woman more than it is a regular person's job. When you tend to be an assessor, you have to read into things a lot more than the average person. So to make a long story short, she's letting you know, and all of us know, that 90% of what comes out of a woman's mouth is pure unadulterated bullshit. Oh boy.
How do we reconcile that?
It's not uncommon for a woman who's been through a very difficult, traumatic experience with a
To lie.
man to still be engaged with that man.
And that's a choice. And if a woman makes that choice, she makes that choice. But
Absolutely. Gayle King stated that it's not uncommon for a woman who's been through a traumatic situation with a man to still engage with that man. Yes, that's called someone who has decided that whatever you claim to be trauma was acceptable. You cannot come back later on down the line and claim that you were raped, especially when you continue to deal with that man. Now, as Donna Rutino has responded, if she makes that choice, that's her choice. Really what the MeToo movement is illustrating is that the woman, she has to be moderated. She cannot be given too many decision-making capabilities because it starts to overwhelm her.
And I think years later to come forward and then say, and who knows years later if your memory is exactly the way something happened at the time that you're claiming that it did.
I'm sure that many brothers out there have had experiences with females where they claim to remember something a certain way, and that is not how it transpired. You have to be very careful with your interactions with women in general, especially in this time period where they've been so empowered by the overall atmosphere, the environment that we live in, because they're seeking to glorify the mother goddess.
But I get frustrated when I listen to these types of situations and I hear women say, well, I didn't have a choice. Well, no, you had a choice and you made a choice.
We're focusing on your two criminal cases, but you do seem to minimize all of the other charges and allegations about Harvey Weinstein.
Because she has to sift through the bullshit, Gayle King. It's not her job to sit on TV and still be upset emotionally about the accusations, because that's all they are. Gayle King is a very angry older woman. That's why you have to be careful with what's going on today, because these females are gaining such levels of prominence and they're projecting all of their negative energy out on the masses at large. And this is why we've had this counter movement of males who are not taking it anymore, And you see the response from a lot of these woke women is, I don't understand why a lot of these people are so angry. It's because that's the energy that you're initiating. The woman is not supposed to be in a leadership position. And let me make this very clear. It's never okay for the woman to be physically taken advantage of. But at the same time, with great power comes great responsibility. So it's incumbent upon the woman to not put herself in situations where she can be taken advantage of physically by a man. That's going to be way too much for most modern females to consider, because they never believe that there should be any negative repercussions for their actions. Women in general believe that they should be able to dress however they want and go wherever they want and never have to suffer the consequences for their decisions. And the MeToo movement, as Ms. Donna Routino was trying to explain to Gayle King, is putting the onus on the woman to actually prove that they have the power that they claim that they have by making real decisions in real time when they're in uncomfortable situations.
It's not minimizing it, but for my purposes in this case, it's not where I have to put my time and attention. It's really about making sure those issues don't cloud our ability to pick a fair jury.
In addition to Harvey Weinstein's 2 accusers, at least 3 other women are expected to testify as so-called prior bad act witnesses. Their testimony will be used by...
They said, Mr. Weinstein, any comment? Harvey Weinstein, yeah, you're cute.
Prosecutors to demonstrate a pattern of behavior. In the Bill Cosby case, it was involving 1 woman, but other women who had made allegations were allowed to testify. And that seemed to have made a decision in the verdict for the jury, certainly in the second case. Are you concerned about that?
Sure, I think there's always a concern about those things. I think the notion of where there's smoke, there's fire is always something that we have to worry about.
This is more than fire, though, Donna. This is an inferno when it comes to Harvey Weinstein.
Is it really an inferno? Or was it just a small brush fire that became an inferno after the media grabbed a hold of this story? Of course, not even led by you, Gayle King, but led by people like Susan Zirinsky, the person who really runs the CBS Morning News, the super liberal Marxist feminist.
I think that when you look at the criminal case, I don't think that that's the case. I'm not here to say that he was not guilty of committing sins. I'm not here to say that at all, but there's a difference between sins and crimes. And I don't think he's a rapist. I do not believe he's a rapist.
Do you ever worry that you're making it harder for...
Gayle King, I have to ask you a question. What young woman in her right mind is not strong enough to push off Harvey Weinstein? I mean, come on. Harvey's like 55 years old, 120 pounds overweight. He walks with a limp. He probably has high blood pressure. I mean, shit, that man couldn't fight off a midget.
Women who have been sexually harassed, assaulted, raped, to come forward?
No, I would hope that I'm making it easier for them. I would hope that doing what I'm doing makes them realize they have choices.
Absolutely. And once again, if they see that they're being physically taken advantage of, to nip it in the bud right away. Don't wait 20 years and then come forth and try to add to a cacophony of or a chorus of people claiming that they've been taken advantage of by a person. Because you're only going to be made to look a fool down the line when they start to chop through your story in court.
If they really are in a position that they feel uncomfortable, then the first thing they should do is report it. They should go to the police. And I think that sort of weeding out the cases that don't rise to the level of real assaults should help real victims. So no,
absolutely.
I think I'm helping them, actually.
Doesn't a man have to take responsibility for his actions?
No question.
Damn, Gayle King, why are you so mad? Shit. You know, a lot of you brothers be like, damn, why you always on Gayle King? Because, brothers, I don't look at people's face. I could look at their spirit, man. I could tell. When you look at people, you could tell the real spirit that's inside of them. That's why I always tell cats to take their time with these women, because all these women have demons on them. All of them. And it's only a matter of how big the demon is, how many of the demons there are within them, and how long it takes the demon to manifest. Some women have demons that you can suffer, that you can tolerate. Others don't. But these females, they deal with so many situations and so many men. They're suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. And over a period of time, especially once the infatuation phase wears off, they start to look for little things about the man that they're with to nitpick. And then after a while, they start to get on TV at 60-some years old, like Gayle King, talking about, don't men have to have to deal with the consequences of their actions? When do women have to deal with the consequences of their actions? We just had a story about 7 months ago where women were basically upset that they were not going to be able to kill their own fetuses. What are they really saying? I want to have the right to have unprotected sex if I feel like doing so. I also want to have the right to not take the morning after pill the day after I have unprotected sex. I want to have the right to wait 8-9 months, let my stomach get big, and still kill the baby if I feel like it. That's the ultimate in narcissism. That's the woman's nature, is to be a narcissist. She worships her damn self. Once again, that is why she must be moderated.
No question.
And the choices that he makes.
No question. And I think that no matter what happens to Harvey Weinstein, he will pay the biggest price there is. Even if he wins, Gayle, his whole life has been ruined.
Yes, Gayle, does that make you happy? Harvey Weinstein's life is going to be ruined after this. Are you okay? Does that help you get past the fact that your ex-husband was boning some fine hottie when you walked in the room?
Damaged, and whether it's by his own doing or others.
Ash just up in the air as Gayle King entered the house. Fluids just splashing everywhere. Gayle King had her mouth open, just flabbergasted, couldn't believe it. She was so upset. Still traumatized to this day.
Fact. And the fact is that no matter what we do, and we can walk out of that courtroom with a not guilty and walk him out onto those courtroom steps, and he never gets to be Harvey Weinstein ever again.
Now, Harvey Weinstein denies the accusations and faces a sentence of up to life in prison if convicted. Donna Rotuno says Harvey Weinstein has been very involved in the preparation of his case, and they've not yet decided whether he's going to take the stand. Though Gloria Allred, who represents accuser Mimi Haley, is imploring him to do so. In a statement to CBS this morning, she writes this:
I would love to see Harvey Weinstein on the stand against Gloria Allred. Gloria Allred be like, Harvey, do you recognize me? Oh, yeah. We fucked back in 81, right?
Challenge Harvey Weinstein to take the witness stand and deny under oath the testimony of prosecution witnesses against him.
It's an extraordinary conversation.
But anyway, that's basically it on that, brothers. We'll see what comes of this whole Harvey Weinstein case. The real focus of this video is for brothers to understand that even women understand the nature of the woman. So it's very important for you so-called black men to understand the nature of the woman, because the vast majority of mistakes that so-called black men make, especially between the ages of 17 and 35, have to do with their misunderstanding of the woman. But anyway, peace.